For nearly 6 centuries, the Ottoman Empire stood as one of the most powerful and influential empires in history, spanning 3 continents and shaping the course of the Islamic world, Europe, and beyond. But like every empire that rose to greatness, it too eventually began to crumble. Its decline was not sudden. It was a long and painful process marked by internal weakness, political mismanagement, economic troubles, and foreign pressures. Yet among all its mistakes and misfortunes, there was one fatal decision, one catastrophic miscalculation that sealed its fate forever. That decision was the choice to enter World War I on the side of the Central Powers, a choice that turned the slow decay of the Ottoman Empire into its ultimate destruction. In the early years of the 20th century, the Ottoman Empire was already referred to as the sick man of Europe. The empire had lost vast territories. Its once mighty army was outdated and disorganized, and its economy was drowning in debt. Nationalist movements had taken root across its diverse provinces, from the Balkans to the Arab world, weakening the unity that had once held the empire together. The rulers in Istanbul, desperate to maintain their authority, tried to reform the empire from within, but their reforms came too late, and corruption within the bureaucracy and military made it nearly impossible to implement real change. During the late 19th century, the empire had already faced devastating defeats. The Balkan Wars of 1912 and 1913 stripped the Ottomans of almost all their European territories. These losses were not just territorial. They were psychological blows that shattered the confidence of the empire's leadership. In the aftermath, the ruling elite sought a way to restore lost glory. The Young Turks, who came to power after the 1908 revolution, were eager to modernize the army and bring the empire back to strength. However, they were also deeply divided and lacked a unified vision for the future. Some leaders wanted closer ties with Britain and France, while others looked toward Germany, whose rapid rise as a military power fascinated many Ottoman officers. This fascination and desperation led to the empire's fateful choice. When World War I broke out in 1914, the Ottomans saw an opportunity to reclaim lost prestige. They believed that by allying with Germany and Austria, Hungary, the Central Powers, they could secure support for military modernization and perhaps even win back territories. What they failed to realize was that their internal weaknesses made them ill-prepared for a war of such massive scale. Their economy could not sustain prolonged conflict, their military lacked supplies and coordination, and their population was already suffering from political instability and poverty. In October 1914, the Ottoman Navy launched a surprise attack on Russian ports in the Black Sea, effectively dragging the empire into the war. From that moment, there was no turning back. The decision to join the Central Powers proved disastrous. The empire's forces were soon stretched thin across multiple fronts, from the Caucasus against Russia to the Dardanelles against Britain and France, and across the deserts of the Middle East. The disastrous Gallipoli campaign in 1915, though a temporary tactical victory, came at a massive cost in lives and resources. Meanwhile, British forces began supporting Arab revolts against Ottoman rule, further weakening the empire's grip on its territories. As the war dragged on, famine, disease, and economic collapse spread throughout the empire. Millions suffered and died. The government, desperate and paranoid, committed one of the darkest acts in its history, the Armenian genocide of 1915, believing it would secure internal loyalty, but instead it deepened divisions and tarnished the empire's legacy forever. The Ottoman leadership's insistence on continuing the war, despite its devastating toll, only accelerated the collapse. By 1918, the Central Powers were defeated, and the Ottoman Empire was in ruins. On October 30, 1918, the Armistice of Mudros was signed, marking the empire's surrender. The victorious Allied powers quickly moved to occupy its territories, carving up its remaining lands according to their own interests. The once vast empire was reduced to a fragment of its former self, and its capital, Istanbul, fell under foreign control. But even after the guns fell silent, the empire's agony continued. The Treaty of Sevres in 1920 sought to dismantle the Ottoman state entirely, dividing its lands between Britain, France, Greece, and Italy. The Arab provinces were turned into mandates under European control, and what remained of the Turkish heartland faced invasion and occupation. It was a humiliation unlike any other in Ottoman history, a complete reversal of fortune for a dynasty that had once ruled from Budapest to Baghdad. Out of this chaos, however, a new force began to rise. Under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the Turkish War of Independence was launched. Ataturk rejected the authority of the Ottoman Sultan, rallied nationalist forces, and fought to create a new, sovereign Turkish state. His victory against the occupying forces led to the Treaty of Lausanne in 1923, which officially recognized the Republic of Turkey. A year earlier, on November 1, 1922, the Ottoman Sultanate had been formally abolished. 600 years of Ottoman rule had come to an end. Looking back, it's clear that the empire's downfall was a result of many interconnected factors: corruption, nationalism, military decay, and the failure to modernize. But it was the decision to enter World War I that made its collapse inevitable. That single choice turned a declining empire into a doomed one. It exposed all its weaknesses at once and ensured that there would be no recovery. The irony is that the Ottoman leaders believed that joining the war could save their empire. They saw it as a chance to prove strength and secure allies in a changing world. Instead, it brought about total destruction. By aligning with Germany, they had chosen the losing side, and when the Central Powers fell, the Ottomans fell with them. The empire's fatal mistake was not just military. It was a failure to see reality. The world around them was changing. Old empires were collapsing, nationalism was reshaping borders, and modern warfare demanded industrial power and unity that the Ottomans no longer possessed. Yet, their leaders clung to outdated ambitions and illusions of past glory. They entered a war they could not win, with resources they did not have, and faith in alliances that could not save them. When the dust settled, what remained of the Ottoman Empire was not a wounded state, but a memory. A reminder that even the greatest empires can fall through one wrong choice. The fatal mistake that ended the Ottoman Empire was not just a political or military error. It was the tragic culmination of arrogance, denial, and desperation. From its golden days under Suleiman the Magnificent to its dying gasp after World War I, the Ottoman Empire's story is one of both brilliance and blindness. It built cities, fostered culture, and ruled vast lands with unmatched power. But it also ignored the warning signs of decline until it was too late. By the time it realized the cost of its fatal mistake, the empire was already gone. The fall of the Ottoman Empire serves as a timeless lesson. It shows how internal decay, when combined with reckless decisions on the global stage, can destroy even the mightiest of powers. It teaches us that no empire, no matter how vast or glorious, can survive without adaptability, wisdom, and the courage to face reality. The Ottomans' final act in history was not one of strength, but of self-destruction, and in that act, they wrote the last tragic chapter of an empire that once ruled the world.